This is at Trustworthy Slav.
This is at Incognito, COH.
CRK Black Dot Compilled.
This is the Fed Post.
You have somewhere you can lean or sit down for this emotional weight.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I feel like he always just kind of has a sickly air to him anyways.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like this might... I just love... He's going to be like the most... He's a fucking sickly fucking... He's a sickly fucking dementia-ridden old man. I don't know how anybody is going to be able to defend this shit after he inevitably fucking completely recovers from this.
Yo, that's so true. The first thing I just saw, I just opened Twitter for the first time in a couple of days, and the first thing I see is Joe Biden tested positive for COVID, and then it says has runny nose. Like,
Bro.
That's nothing.
Bro, that's what they used to do whenever like Pelosi or all these like slugs would catch COVID. They'd be like, they have a light cough, but feel okay. Feel a little tired.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, how is this news? How is this like breaking fucking, it just shows how much of a joke the whole thing is. And like, it's surreal that it's like, I'm looking at it now, like all these fucking headlines. I guess it's just happened.
It's like today, I think.
All these fucking big ass headlines as if it fucking matters. But I mean, he is kind of old. I mean, maybe he'll die from it. I mean, not saying that I'd wish for that, but that might be interesting.
I like the language on all these articles about him. Like it'll say he has tested positive for coronavirus, but then like the next sentence is always like he is fully vaccinated and twice boosted. Not like has gotten 2 booster shots or anything, but is twice boosted. That's just crazy.
Yo, it's I don't know what's there even. I don't know. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. I mean, like, okay. So do you guys wager he'll live or he'll die? Because he is.
Of course, he's gonna fucking live, dude. He's gonna be completely fine. I think if anything, like if we really want to get like Babe Ruth calling it here, like I'd say. I mean, okay, realistically, 99.9, absolutely nothing happens here. On the off chance something does happen, they like fake that he has long COVID, and then they have that be part of the narrative for why they don't run him again.
Have to push him out.
I could see that.
Yeah, dude, your boy's calling it now, but he's probably just like that's not gonna fucking happen. What is gonna happen is he's just gonna be completely fine because it's a fucking cold, especially because the current variant is like. I don't know that anyone can even pretend that it's anything more than just a cold anymore.
Yeah, it's like nothing.
I mean, the flu does kill old people. Like the regular flu used to kill old people. And like,
yeah, but this is not even like the flu for real, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Dude.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like I have my fingers crossed or anything like right now. I mean, I'm not hoping.
I mean, I kind of do a little bit. I'll be honest.
Yeah. Sure, yeah. I mean,
honestly, I cringe at like this shit of just like normie Republicans being like, and you know what the important thing in this situation is we're not going to be like they were. We're going to hope. We're going to pray. We're going to pray that he has a speedy recovery. It's like, why, bro? Like you guys are getting your fucking asses kicked. Like you should pray that he dies. Like I don't
fucking
know.
bow ties. The bow ties. They're upholding civility. But yeah, I do remember. Trump had COVID. And every leftist was like, he's dead. He's already dead. I know he's dead. And
he's morbidly obese. He's morbidly obese. He's going to die.
McDonald's diet and all that. And I just remember thinking, like, it's a cold. He'll be fine. Like, he's not going to die. But they were, like, so convinced. They were, like, really convinced. Mm-hmm. And then, that just passed. Like, nothing. It just forgotten. It's just like, oh, yeah, he didn't die. Whatever.
I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know if Joe Biden's brain can handle taking even less oxygen than it normally gets.
But that's what I'm saying, though. But that's what I'm saying, though, because he's different than Trump. Because Trump was like,
He's the lion.
He's the lion of Israel.
I'm thinking of that shit Bat posted where it's the defend the lion and it's Trump with the fucking armor and shit. No, but Trump was sprightly, maybe is the word. I don't know. He kind of had a pep in his step.
That's the centrist position right there. Trump isn't a lion, but he's not morbidly obese. He's sprightly.
Say what you will about the man. He was sprightly.
He had a pep in his step. He was making wisecracks, he gotchas. He was there.
He was sharp. Yeah,
and they're like similar age, but Biden is you know, if the mental state is reflective of all of the physical state, I don't know. He's falling all the time. He's definitely more frail than Trump is, so there's a chance it could nip him. And honestly, why even wait for like long COVID as a reason to get him out? Why not just be like, bro, he's dead. He's dead. We have to get Kamala in here. He's gone. You know.
I don't even think they want her in there though, dude. I haven't seen any of her. I mean, like every now and again you see like her saying something stupid, but I don't ever see like they don't have her actually doing anything. They don't have her like out in any type of public way. It seems like they're just kind of keeping her like in the back room.
Put a lid on that shit, dude. This is the era of that, man. Like they've totally put a lid on Trump so that we barely see him anymore. They have a lid on Biden so we don't see him anymore unless it's like a completely controlled environment, like a fucking vacuum. And nobody wants fucking Kamala being seen or heard by anybody. And even when like the rare times she sounds like, oh man, I'll be honest, dude. I saw a video of each of them recently, and like I didn't like it because I felt like genuine pity. Like it's not really fun to like listen to these people struggle.
Oh no.
It kind of sucks. Like I don't know. I might be too empathetic. No, I'm just like this is like genuinely kind of painful. Like this must suck to be these people.
Or their handlers or whatever. No, she sounds zanied up, and the last thing I remember was her like with a group of these.
Yo, that's not a lie, bro. That's facts.
Yeah, she's a bourgeois liberal white woman for sure to the core. Like she's zanned up, she's on all types of shit. But she's just. I remember last thing I remember was her with a group of like these kids and talking about space, and she was just talking in like a weird tone and like, and space is so like vast and wonderful, and it's like, why are we seeing this? And all the photos of her walking around, you know, it's like, but they kept her more in the tuck than Biden. I mean, I guess they have to, but like she was really fucking buried. She wasn't even paraded around really.
To be fair, though, anytime anyone's talking about space, they sound retarded. So.
Dude, anytime anyone's talking about shit that ain't fucking real, they actually sound like a fool.
I am not taking the bait. I mean,
shit, bro. It's been popping off recently with the fucking telescope and stuff. I know
with that close-up picture of someone's countertop.
Yeah, bro.
The marble countertop.
That's what you mean. Sorry. I'm just fact checking you in real time.
No, that's for real what it looks like, dude. Or like some type of spray paint art or something.
Yeah,
the space propaganda. All right, we'll save that for the bonus for the real heads who want to hear that. But yeah, I mean, all right. I mean, if Slav's gonna say that he's gonna live through it, I'll just for fun, I'll just wager that he dies. I'll just wager. I'll just put $5 Patreon bucks that he dies.
$5 neat bucks on it.
$5 neat bucks. Why not? Let's make it interesting. Maybe in a week we hear that he dies, or 2 weeks. I think it's more within the realm of possibility than you guys. It sounds like you guys think it is. But,
well, yeah, I mean, because you're the resident lib, so of course you would say that. But
did he die? Is that what they want? The libs want him to
you're
die?
scared of the virus and everything.
No. That you think that he could die from it. Dude, he doesn't have anything like wrong with him respiratory wise.
No, I think he's fine, bro. He just put out a video and he looks the most lucid that he's ever appeared.
Well,
so I'm just trying to make. He's not going to die. I'm just making it interesting.
Brother COH, I got a little pushback on that. I think I haven't watched the video, so I don't know.
CGI video.
Well, I think it would be reasonable to say that they would have recorded a video like that ahead of time.
Ooh, yeah, I mean,
bro,
for sure.
When Trump had it, like there was a video of him on the lawn, and everyone was like, "This is CGI. He's dead." It's just like it's mad funny, but yeah, I'll just make it interesting. I'll wager he dies. He probably.
Dude, I think we should actually do a bet, and the bet should be like whoever loses needs to like read some like lib cringe on mic or something on an episode.
Oh God,
like something like that would be funny. I don't have an idea of it at the ready right now.
It's like the Chapo reading or whatever. Like find some horrible shit to read. Like
right, exactly. Hey, we could just literally read a transcription of a Chapo episode.
yeah, that'd be the equivalent.
Yeah. But anyway. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah. Anyways, I guess that just happened today, right? The Sleepy Joe got the coof.
Yeah, I feel like
yeah.
today or yesterday. I don't remember. Everything
It
kind
was
of flows
today.
together.
Yeah.
It was today. But now I'm remembering our other wager, the monkeypox. I think I won that bet, Slav. Monkeypox is still going. It doesn't have a lot of juice.
It's got
It's
no
still at
legs,
large.
though. Like, it's just
got
still
no
around.
legs. They're still talking about it. I think they like had some major announcement of like this is emergency or whatever. Like, I mean, I think they've done that twice or three times.
No, I
now.
I think you're right. Though I don't want to claim an L for this one because I think it's just on a technicality, really. Because monkeypox isn't really a thing, not even in the psyop markets, right? It's more just like, and I don't know, maybe I should have seen this coming. Maybe we did see this coming. I feel like monkeypox is basically it's like the simmer setting for lib pandemic.
Right.
Like it keeps us thinking about it. It keeps that vocabulary fresh in our minds.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's just out looking for the next fucking pandemic now.
Yeah. Well,
I still won the bet though. Technically, I still won that because we said would they still be talking about it? And after I got back a couple months later, it's like in the news.
It's still out there.
You're right. So I'll read a transcription of a Chapo Trap House episode.
Yeah, we got to do it.
Talk about fucking jet ski salesmen or something like that, and how they should all be
God.
put in gulags or something.
Gulags.
I don't fucking.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, fucking, you were right. We are talking about monkeypox quite a bit more than I thought we would be. It's still like basically all gay men, right? I saw a little bit about like pregnant broads were getting it.
Really?
But like over 90% of the cases are all gay dudes, right?
They're trying to argue that it might be airborne, of course, obviously. But yeah, there's photos of like a line in New York City of like a long line of gay men just waiting for the monkeypox vaccine.
Wait,
It's
really?
like they're waiting for a club, like a gay club.
Waiting for the monkeypox club, dude.
They're getting bounced by the bouncer up front. That's what it looked like.
Oh, shit.
But yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, hopefully we'll see how that goes. But the real,
Dude, we should just keep a Fed Post podcast betting pool going all week.
yeah.
why not keep a matrix? But yeah. I mean, there's the monkeypox thing, obviously. But like now, they're talking about like Biden issued a state of emergency over climate change.
So I haven't seen anything about this.
Yeah, I haven't seen much either. I don't know if COH has, but like he just declared. It was like for a week they were like rumors that he's going to declare it, and then he declared it. Which I don't know what the fuck that means. What does that mean if you declare it? But he declared it officially that it's an emergency. So I mean, last I checked, it's been an emergency for 30 years, right? So like, I'm still waiting for the world to flood and end, and all that shit. But
It's just some more stupid bullshit where they're just like making some sort of symbolic movement or stance on something.
Well, no, man. Like an emergency is fucking how they were basically able to fucking halt the fucking Constitution for COVID measures and shit like that, and how they were able to roll out this fucking unsafe vaccine. So I mean, like,
I don't think he's declaring a state of emergency, an actual one. I think he's declaring that it's an emergency.
well,
I think that's
at
the language.
I'm looking at the headlines, and it's just preempting it. Biden announces plans to deal with climate emergency, and so yeah, I guess you are right. It's like they're it's not a technical emergency declaration. No.
But you're saying that that's how they like create the state of exemption or whatever.
Yeah, exactly, and that's like that. I mean, like literally, like legal. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like if the COVID emergency, goes away, they're not. I don't think they would be able to continue shilling these fucking vaccines or any number of things.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is probably the point of the fucking monkeypox psyop still, right? To just keep that in people's minds. But no, I mean, fucking hey, dude, I see this as the same fucking thing as the people should stop using AC shit that you guys were talking about.
Oh God, yeah. That's all linked. That's a thing that they're saying is like, Europeans don't use AC. That's just an American thing. It's like, what? Like maybe, I guess, but like, I don't know. I remember seeing shit like people being like, the heat wave is gonna kill a bunch of like old people and poor people who don't have AC and they need like public cooling centers or whatever. What the fuck happened to that? Is that
Yeah, and then they turn around and they say, you don't need to use it.
yeah. Well, that's how it all goes. It's all
Yeah.
like, at one point it's like, oh, we need to do this for the poor people. And then it's like, oh, actually what the poor people want is like, everything that they want is secretly like American supremacist or some like
Yeah,
like
no,
chud
exactly.
shit.
They're like, oh wait,
Entitled shit.
we need to do fucking global austerity. So actually, AC's for chuds. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're keeping the people down that don't have AC by using your AC, so you got to stop using the AC.
Right. Which by the way, like the whole poor old people dying because of heat waves is like completely fucking true. Like the area that I live in, we get beastie ass heat waves in the summer these days now. And nobody has AC around here. It's just not, it just hasn't been a consideration up until the last 5 years, maybe. And so, yeah, I mean, like when there are really big fucking heat waves, like, yeah, fucking poor old people fucking die, dude. That's a thing that absolutely happens,
Yeah, it's like 100 degrees around here. I mean, there's like a global heat wave, I guess, but like in New York, it's like 100. And unless you're in a bougie apartment with central AC, most apartments don't have it. So you have the window thing. But the window thing is like, I've been in small ass shitty apartments with the window AC, and that shit does nothing. Like absolutely, like you're just fucked if it's really hot. So like, it's just funny that they're gonna paint it that way. I mean, they're gonna paint running water and hot water and electricity as like chud mindset. Obviously, they have to paint that as
Like,
that.
what, you think you're better than people in Africa?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course. I think I remember when the Texas crisis was going on, with their like roads getting fucked over by the storm or whatever, and the plumbing and all that. They were just like, you know what I mean? It's just shit like that. Like they're just gonna dismiss all that stuff as like basic infrastructure stuff, entitled or whatever. But yeah,
well, yeah, I mean,
New York,
all of that fucking Texas shit just became like, it basically became like, it's not about any kind of solution. It's basically just like penance for the chuds for voting in the wrong people.
Oh yeah, and Ted Cruz fled the state. I remember that. It was funny.
Right.
He was on vacation.
Right.
Very funny situation. But yeah, I mean, the climate stuff is definitely the spiritual successor to COVID, more than monkeypox for sure. I mean, I guess it's the predecessor if you really think about it, because it's older. But yeah, there's some Project Veritas video that's circulating again that I think was from a year ago, where CNN director was like talking to one of the Veritas like baddies, journalists or whatever, who like seduced him, and it's just like, yeah, we're COVID, the fear factor wasn't long lasting enough. We have to switch it for climate. We're gonna start going to climate because that's gonna last longer. COVID,
dude, you guys are like,
anymore.
I hate to say this, but part of me is like, dude, we ain't seen shit yet, dude. Like what we saw with COVID is just going to be like a fraction of what we see with climate change, because like, I mean, it's already just like a total eschatology for normies. Like it's like not at all uncommon, at least where I'm at, like fucking coastal lib areas, to find a lot of people that are like, I'm genuinely choosing to not have children and plan for a meaningful future because the world is going to end.
Oh yeah.
And like, that's fucking wild, dude. Is it totally valid and reasonable to not have children? Like CRK, right? Like just not wanting them. That's totally fine, right? There is something seriously wrong.
Oh yeah,
with
feeling coerced. Yeah,
yeah, man. I mean, the really sad thing is then you can just kind of wonder, like, if that wasn't the case, like, would you really like to have kids and like bring people into the world that are like this reflection of you and the person you love, and that will be really exceptional, that'll bring your life meaning? Like, would you have otherwise done this? Like, I don't know. It makes me fucking really sad to even talk about it, to be honest. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's also just kind of a dime a dozen to like look at discourse generally and people people when they get to the end of their rope and they just get to the point in an argument where they just throw their hands up, it's really common for normies to just be like, oh well, whatever, like everything's fucked anyways, the world's gonna fucking end.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, I feel like COVID was just like the appetizer.
No, yeah, I had I was digging through my old tweets of like climate lockdown shit because I remember Dirk or someone had like shouted me out, and Paul Yield, who I think that's his name, was like, oh, CRK and Paul are getting very close to some I told you so's about COVID. And the article's from Market Watch, and it's like March 2020, and it's saying like, no, not March 2020. Was it? I don't know. It was sometime in 2020, and it was like, why we need climate lockdowns too. And that was the first time I saw that phrase. And obviously, they're always testing the waters, just like academia. In journalism, they're testing the waters of different ideas and how it's received or whatever. And like, that just stuck with me. And it's like, I never was super skeptical of climate change until COVID. And then it just kind of all made sense. And I had some old ass tweet from like 2021 where I was like, fearing about a pandemic is one level of fear, but fearing about like apocalypse is like, it's just viscerally on another level. So
yeah, it gets to the core of your being because it takes away the essence of what to live for because it takes away the future.
Exactly. I use the term eschatology like really specifically because like it is like, goddamn, I don't want to do the cliche of just like what we've been doing lately, which is just like every episode becomes about religion in some way. But like the place, I don't know, man, like that climate change, the problem of climate change, it literally is like spiritual. You know what I mean? You've taken people's reason for living, how they conceive of themselves, like how they contextualize their own existence, the part they're playing in everything, the part that their future plays in everything, and their role in this like grand experiment and thing that we're all taking part in. It's like, it is spiritual. It's a new religion. And I don't know, man.
Sometimes.
I was skeptical of it before COVID for sure. But it's definitely kicked up into overdrive for me. And I was talking to my girlfriend about this the other day, and I'm curious if you guys can relate or if I'm just being kind of retarded. Like, dude, these days, like, I don't even know what climate change means anymore. And like, hear me out, because I just like, I think about it and it's just like, it's just an umbrella statement for just bad shit in the environment happening. Like, it's not any one thing, and when I kind of start to think about it and I want to have it be a little bit more defined and a little bit more contained to one specific thing to have it have a little bit more coherence. I like don't know that there's a way of conceiving of it that actually is coherent and focused. Like, is there? Like, am I just wrong? Like, does climate change mean anything, or is it just this really broad umbrella statement that's really, really abstract that basically just means like something weird happened in the environment and therefore the future is gone?
Yeah, it's definitely just a big abstract framing, really, because it was first global warming, and then it was no. Technically, it's climate change.
Because global warming was too specific.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And
even that in itself was like, that was just the label that they put on to a broader set of things, and then they found out, oh well, this label doesn't even actually come to really explain this broad set of things that we've tied together, and so we just got to change it to something that is just basically non-falsifiable. Like, yeah, climate change, it's changing, shit's changing. I don't really, on this issue, I think I kind of am pitted a little bit against you guys because I don't personally question climate change as far as like the fact that there is climate catastrophe that's being driven by human causes. I don't think that it's everything that's happening is just like directly like, oh, humans are terrible, dirty little creatures that don't know how to, take care of the things around them. So they just consume until everything's gone and it's just blackness or whatever. I don't really take that stance, but I definitely think that we're producing and living in a way that's not in harmony with the natural state of being, or with like the will of God or nature. And I think that ultimately it's leading to a lot of problems that are arising in our world around us. And I think that we are exasperating them and that we are driving a lot of them. But I don't think that, like, I am more skeptical of the framing and more skeptical of like how it's used rhetorically and what's behind the framing, right? Like, it's like more so like degrowth rhetoric, and degrowth rhetoric is more so aimed at the lower classes and individuals. It's a very individualist framing. That's the stuff that I'm most skeptical of. And it's the same thing with the COVID. Like, obviously COVID exists, right? There are people getting sick from COVID. There were people dying from COVID. Are they overblowing it? Absolutely. Are they linking things to it that don't actually cause it and aren't really linked? Yeah, absolutely. Are they trying to use a wide field of data points in all these different directions to draw a picture of one thing that's grand and dangerous? Yeah, but like, does that mean that the thing that they're basing it all around is completely just false? No. The reason why it has any type of power in the first place is because they're speaking to something that is actually materially there, and then they're just using that framing like in a very deceiving way.
I mean, honestly, I'll to tell you the truth, I don't know that the three of us do disagree on this at all. To be honest with you, like, I think that environmental stewardship is cool and good, and like, I think that there's a ton of environmental crises going on all over the world, and I think that that a ton of them are man-made, or are the cause of human civilization, industrial society, and its consequences, if you will. And I think that that's something seriously to worry about. And I think that there's a number of them that there's credible reason to think that they'll have like paradigm shifting impacts on the way we organize and live our lives. It's just, I don't know that the complex of climate change, where it puts it all under one roof and it makes it all one thing, is legit. Now, what I mean by legit, I guess I don't really know, but I don't think that any of us actually disagree on this in any meaningful way. What do you think, CRK?
No, I totally agree with what you're saying. Like, I think we all agree about COVID and climate change on this regard of like, we're not on the level of being like, there is no virus, there is no change in the climate. Like, we're not on that. Some people think that. We're definitely not on that level. I mean, like I've said before, like, if you're really old and you got a secondary condition and you do some cost benefit analysis that you feel like you want the vax, I don't really blame you for that. Sure. I mean, you make that decision on your own. The fact that they mandated it and fired people, obviously there were other intentions besides just like, hey, there's this thing in case you want it. It was clearly like a plan in my mind, a pandemic of sorts. But
if you will.
But yeah, if you will. But and climate change. Look, I mean, the rate of industrialization, the advancement in technology is exponential. So obviously the rate that we've been, developing is pretty insane. And I'd understand that this is unprecedented in the world's history if we're just looking from the perspective of the planet. So I'm sure that there's some effect in, temperature and greenhouse gases and all that. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it's raising some sea levels. I'm sure it's affecting the economy as a result of that. I'm sure. But, the thing that comes with this is always apocalyptic talk. Yeah. That's always the undertone of like, hey, we're trying to warn people and they don't know, like, we're all going to die in 10, 20 years, or it's irreversible in 10 years. I remember AOC said that like a couple years ago, was like, we're going to hit the point in 6 months where it's irreversible. And, that just came and went. Nothing fucking happened. And she's still acting like it is reversible. So it's like, wait.
Yeah, still fundraising on it like it is.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like, maybe people, I don't know if anybody listening to us disagrees with us about COVID, but maybe you do, hypothetically. And, but you see all these fucks like Gavin Newsom or all these fucking people, partying indoors and acting like there's, saying we need to mask up, and they're not doing that. I mean, like Kris Jenner was recently I think it was Kris Jenner or whatever. One of the fucking Kardashians. I forget her fucking name. The younger one, whatever. Kylie. She's like got in trouble because she took a private jet for like a 15-minute flight.
Oh, I saw an article about that actually.
Yeah,
I didn't read it. I didn't know who it was, but I saw the headline that was like 17-minute flight ? Or something like that.
Yeah, and Obama's like buying beachfront property, and like people like, you know what I mean, like people that talk about or DiCaprio's like a climate change guy. He does that fucking Don't Look Up movie. Again, as far as the apocalyptic tone, there's a fucking like a comet literally hits the Earth at the end of the movie and kills
Bro,
everyone.
I watched the ending of that movie. Like I watched it and it made me fucking sick.
They had like a religious moment. They had like a prayer, a table prayer, and they were like,
It's
we had
fucking
it so good.
contemptible, dude. Like it's fucking like that movie's just to like schizo post a little bit. Like that movie's fucking evil, dude. That shit's fucking evil. The message that movie ends on, the entire fucking thing is evil, dude. That shit is a demonic presence coming through people's fucking televisions. Don't fucking watch that movie, dude.
Yeah,
Fuck
I have
that
not
shit.
watched that garbage.
Or I mean,
won't.
whatever. Watch the movie and laugh at it, but like that shit's fucking, it's evil, dude.
I saw some cringe scenes in it for the, but I haven't watched the whole thing. But I did see that last one. There's like a pastor at the end. And again, I keep saying like that point the right makes of like, the lib ideology is like a religion. It really is. I mean, there's the end time. The difference is there's no afterlife, which is a big difference, I guess. But
the
like,
difference is there's no life in the first place, dude. When it's all in time and there's no future and there's nothing to live for and it's all that we are, these like just dark creatures that are just consuming constantly and that's all that we're here to do, and then life is just going to be ending in one big just fucking consumption implosion or some shit, and that we're just going to fuck up everything around us and every species on Earth is a victim of us and all this. When you have a mindset of that and that the people around you are also that and also these evil beings that are destroying the world and all its beautiful majesty or whatever, then you're just going to have no sense of life in the first place. It takes away what you're living for. And so it's not that there's just no afterlife. There's no meaning. There's no life. There's no joy in being in existence. It's really, it's a really dark place to be coming from. And I know that because I feel like, for a while as a teenager and stuff, I believed that. I took that to be true. Like, we're basically nothing matters. We're all fucked. It's a very nihilistic way of living, and it's not. I don't think it's healthy, and I think that it's deeply, deeply wrong. And it's really sad. Yeah, it is sad to see.
Honestly, I'll be honest. I had the exact same thing, now that I think about it, happen with climate change as I did with COVID, right? Which was, you guys remember, like in the beginning of COVID, all the dissident people were like taking it really seriously, right? Mm-hmm. Like it flipped, right? The people,
the right was like had the bug out bags and all that.
Yeah, some people on the dissident left.
So there's horror images coming out of China. So that's the bag, right?
It was bigger on the right, but like just people generally, right? I guess there isn't a dissident left. You guys get what I'm saying, right? It's just basically the dynamics now were the opposite, right?
Right.
And I remember,
which makes sense because the news was like saying it's not a big deal. So it's like if I was anywhere in the conspiratorial mind, you'd be like, okay, so it is a big deal. Which makes
the news is saying it's not a big deal,
right?
And it was an unknown thing, right? And so just the arithmetic of it, it's just like, well, I should treat this. I should operate on, if there's a 1% chance that this thing will kill me, I should probably operate on that chance, right? Anyways, so like thinking about that, like I remember I fucking, in the very beginning, it was really early on, I fucking got myself super stressed out about it going to the grocery store, right? Because I like went to go get groceries for an older family member.
I remember that. Yeah, you were being nice and helping out.
Yeah, I think I talked to you guys about this shit, and I got so fucking bugged out. I got a borderline panic attack about the shit, and then just like that day, it was just like turning a corner where it was just like, oh, but I like need to go to the store still, and I like need to function. So it's like I'm just gonna die or I'm not. So what the fuck, you know what I mean? Because like this isn't functional, right? And like this place I'm existing in right now, it's just so much like I'm just thinking about it really rapidly, taking it all to its logical conclusion, and it's just like, well, I'm not going to kill myself, so like I might as well just I'm just going to act whatever, right? And that's basically the exact thing that I had when I was much younger with climate change, right? Is you just have that, like, you have that one moment where you just take it all at face value of just the absolute fucking doomsaying that people are selling you on. And it's just like, oh, okay. So I'm either going to kill myself right now or I'm not. and you get super overwhelmed and you're like, well, I'm not going to kill myself. And so I'm just going to just move on from it. And then slowly over time, I felt like I actually did revisit it with a much more critical eye, which I guess didn't really take that much. And then that's kind of it. Right. But yeah, I mean, for me, I feel like that's the flip side, almost like a horseshoe effect of like really, really, really intense emotional psyops, is that the thing you will also run into is just because it's so emotionally powerful and potent, it's gonna just max people out really
people
fast.
burn out on it.
Yeah, and a lot of the time that's just like a fast track to you know, people have to come up for air. And then maybe after a while, after they've come up for air, then they're, you know, open to the idea of hearing out people saying it's bullshit. And then one thing leads to another and people are seeing that it's bullshit. Yeah, that was the experience I had with both of them. This is just like, dude, you can't maintain this.
Right. And that's actually like a thing in therapy for like conditioning therapy, not like talk therapy, but like therapy for like phobias. Like they get you in near your stimulus that causes the irrational fear, and they let you like go max heart rate, and they let like just hold it there, and they let you burn out because you physically cannot sustain that level of anxiety. Like you the cortisol, your heart pumping, like these are meant for emergency situations like fight or flight. So you're not meant to sustain that. Obviously you're going to hit homeostasis or whatever. So, you know, they do that in therapy where like you get exposed to it and eventually you calm down, and they just keep doing exposure until you have a, you know, less intense reaction. And I mean, COVID, like over 2 years, I mean, there was a point where I'm fucking hearing libs in fucking, you know, bougie ass hipster Brooklyn saying like, oh yeah, who cares about COVID anymore? And it's like, what? Like, you were the ones fucking tripping out. But, you know, that's the thing is like, you know, people get it. Everybody fucking got it and fucking lived through it. All these people would be like, bro, you know, this person has COVID. This person has COVID. They act like it's a death sentence. I'd be like, all right, like, relax. And they'd be like, no, dude, it's really bad. And of course, everybody wants to get like sympathy and everybody wants to say like, no, dude, it's really bad. But, you know, months later, everybody's still there. Like, you know, I mean, I'm not saying nobody died from it, but like younger people like our age, like fine, completely fine. But yeah, it's not sustainable. And that's why they have to swap out this COVID psyop. I mean, I thought it would last longer, honestly. But, you know, I mean, when it started, they said 2 years, and coincidentally on a dime, it stopped after 2 years. But yeah, I mean, they have to switch it to something else. And like, this. I mean, the terrorism thing is what informed me about the COVID thing. The war on terror psyop, like the fear that was there, disappeared. That's what informed me about the COVID one. I'm like, oh, this is the same language, the war on COVID, and the climate thing too. The climate thing is like
the war on the climate.
Yeah. And it has that same level of like fear and intensity. And I'm glad you brought that up, Slav, that thing, because like there were a couple like early episodes when you like called me like kind of like schizo. You were joking around a little. But like I remember being like kind of like irritated or whatever. But like honestly, like there was a point where I was scared of COVID. That's the truth. I don't think everybody was like there was like I think it was like early February. I just was like, or there was an emergency declared, and I was just like, what the? I think the visual just shocked me. It was like, holy shit! There's people like long lines for the groceries. Like what the fuck is going? It felt like a movie. I was like, what's going on? And other people being afraid makes you afraid too. It's like there was a certain period where I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I was sick. So I was like, you know, but you know, and climate too. I believed climate change for like the longest, but you know, it's still real, obviously. But like, yeah, I there's a lot of power in fear. There's a lot of power in fucking fear. It's so powerful. It's the most powerful thing, if anything.
Besides horniness.
You know, yeah, that's the other one. But,
dude, I think it's interesting, this line of thought that we're going down, because it also just reminds me, I was going to say earlier, my like big, I guess like the best way I can put my issue with climate change as a concept is it's like, you know, if you're super fucking depressed, or we don't even need to go that extreme. If you're really depressed, or you're just like really stressed about something, right? Like let's say you have a fucking project for work or school that you're really overwhelmed by, right? And like you're just taking all of the issues that you're faced with, all of them, and they're disparate and they're totally different things individually,
and you just let them all meld into one big abstract like cartoon anvil floating over your head. Like those veins of thought, those patterns of thought is when you do get into that headspace of just being like, this is totally insurmountable. I should fucking kill myself, dude. Like this is too much. Like, I mean, that's what it is. Like, when, you know, what I'm talking about is just like being super depressed or something. Right. And to me, that's what climate change is. Right. Is it's like it's taking all these disparate things and taking all the shit that's bad in your life when you're depressed and putting it into one singular totemic thing and this monolithic thing. And it becomes completely unmanageable. It becomes completely unmanageable, dude.
Yep.
And that's when the doomerism does come in. And it's not just out of like emotional well-being or anything too. Like it's also just like, think about it from the standpoint of being someone that actually wants to fucking do something about these disparate problems, right? The wildfires in California, right? Fucking managing underbrush, doing controlled burns, cleaning up areas, and not continuing to have these fucking companies that are doing these huge fucking housing developments where they're putting in cheap ass fucking shrubs that are like gasoline for fires, right? Apparently that was a big fucking thing with fires going on in Central and Northern California. That level of nuance and complexity is what these issues actually call for, as opposed to like a 2-word term and concept that includes everything on the fucking planet Earth.
Yeah, it just pretty much makes it abstract, kind of mystifies it. And it's almost like you're making the example of depression, and it's almost exactly the same with depression, right? It's like, you could just have a sober mind and realize, oh, there's a bunch of these different things in my life that are going on that I could be better at, I could address in a better and healthier way. And you could get to work doing those individual things, and it would probably make your life a lot better. Or you could say, oh, well, I just have depression. And, then it's like, well, there's no cure to depression. I guess I could get on some medication and do nothing, and kind of wallow in it, kind of give up the fact that I could just really do something about it. And it leaves you in a way that you're like powerless instead of actually seeing the pieces that need to be put into place in the first place.
Exactly, dude. Like anybody who's like had a hard time at one time or another with like being depressed, which honestly these days feels like almost the majority of people. Like it is a
definitely.
gift. It is like a blessing to be able to do that shit where and it, not every situation is like this, right? Sometimes it is like a hole that you really just can't fucking dig yourself out of no matter what you seem to be able to do. But in most cases, I'll have the hot take of saying in most cases, like it's a blessing to be able to just go, holy shit, there's this huge hydra of just like all the bad shit in my life that my brain wants to put into just like one big lump that I can't possibly climb over. But like just you limit it to like, I'm going to take 2 quantifiable, simple steps today. And like, it's a blessing when you fucking take those 1 or 2 steps and you like literally just feel better in some way. You know what I mean? And it always is, maybe not always, but like it is this really surprising, shocking thing to be like, oh, when I just like put some kind of framework on this that simplifies it into I can do A, B, and C feasibly in an afternoon, and that's going to put me a little bit further ahead, and it fucking works, dude.
Yeah.
And yeah, like environmental stewardship, taking responsibility and care for the fucking beautiful natural world around you that is like profound and meaningful, and whenever I'm out in it feels like it's nourishing to my soul. Like that's based and good, and like reducing that to those anxieties and worries you have about it to like simple measurable steps. Go pick up some fucking litter, you fucking piece of shit. Or go fucking clean up a fucking ravine in your area, dude. That shit is good, and that shit will make you feel good.
Yeah, and you guys are making me think of a couple of things like with the nihilism and the depression thing. Like, I've definitely had a lot of depression, even like before all the lockdown shit or whatever, just chronically or whatever. I mean, it's kind of whack to say that shit because like the term is so cheapened or whatever. But like it does make me think like there,
because it's now like a commodified identity.
Oh yeah, exactly, yeah, and it's like people say that if they just feel bummy for a second or whatever, as opposed to like chronically or whatever. But like there's a thing I remember from like psych stuff was like, you know, say you like globalizing your thinking of like, you know, instead of compartmentalizing things, like something goes wrong or you did something wrong, instead of siloing it as like, damn, I fucked up today in this one instance on this one regard. The mind for depression is to expand it to, no, I always fuck up. Everything I do is fucked up. It has to expand to you. It's the opposite of compartmentalizing. It's like, no, this applies to everything. That's when you get really in the hole of like, that's when you get to suicide mentality. Mm-hmm. That's how you get there.
It's the lens that you view everything through at that point.
Yeah, and that's where you doom things. That's where you are doomed, because you can't think of it as like, maybe tomorrow I won't fuck up, or maybe tomorrow I'll do better on this or whatever. That's out the window. That's when it's logical to, if you really feel that way, of course you're going to do the thing that's what people do at that moment. And climate change has that. I'm thinking of this comparison, like what you guys are saying. It's like, you know, these different things that are going wrong in your life or just with the environment or everything, and just kind of blowing it up to like, no, everything is fucked. That's what it really feels like. And that's why, you know, it really is kind of a depressing mind state. And, you know, it lends itself not just to the nihilism, too, but also the hedonism, because, you know, not to get into my spirituality bag, but like, you know,
let's go.
But like, you know, like what I say of like, you know, they make all these addictive pleasures very cheap, and they make things that you need expensive. You know, that promotes hedonism. And also, if you think that the world is going to fucking end, that's the perfect mentality to be like a fucking hedonistic type of person. Of course it is. Because you're like, bro, there's not, you know, like YOLO, you only live one, or like tomorrow is not promised or whatever. You know, that type of mentality is like, all right, if I don't know if I'm going to live tomorrow, I might as well fucking live it up right now. There's no way to think in the long term of like, I need to set foundations and discipline and you know, good bedrocks for my life, because the only reason you would do that is because if there's a future. And if there is no future, then fuck all that shit. Why would you? You might as well just bug out and do whatever the fuck you want. So that it's twofold there, where I feel like it aids in the what we're seeing of like people just kind of like consumers and just kind of numbing shit out and just, you know, circulating money in this fucking made up economy, while the things they really need, like housing or education or healthcare or anything that's like real of substance or family, that shit is out of reach. And it just justifies all of it. It's like, yeah, of course. Who cares if you can't afford a family or a house or whatever? It's not going to be here anymore. There's going to be a flooded world like Noah's Ark in a couple decades. So it does a lot of things psychologically. Obviously, this is probably an obvious point that we're making, but it's true. I mean, it's powerful. It's very. I mean,
powerful. It's an obvious point once you think about it or once it's, you know, told to you. But when you're in the workings of the machine, it's really hard to see the way that it's, you know, framing your thought. And so it is helpful to point this kind of stuff out sometimes and to discuss it frankly and honestly in a way of, you know, like actually engaging with the topic rather than just like, we could have just been like, oh yeah, climate change is bullshit. If you believe that, fucking you're a sheep, that's stupid or whatever, you know, right off the bat. Because like functionally, right, that would be all right because it's dismissing the framework that they're using, and it's dismissing, by doing that, you're taking away some of its power. But at the same time, it's useful to like be able to engage with this stuff in an honest way and in a very, you know, actually good-natured way, and earnest way, because then it can show that people who maybe are still caught in this framework of thinking can say, well, you know what, actually, yeah, this is kind of the same kind of things I'm thinking. Or it also just kind of helps to clarify stuff. Yeah,
and it's like that contemplative rest point that we had talked about on a bonus of like, if you're in the grind and you're doing like multiple quarter jobs or whatever, you have to stay afloat or whatever. You got no time to think about any of this shit. So you're just reacting and you're like just going through your grind. You don't have time to think. And then you just see headlines of like, yeah, the world's going to end soon. And you're like, well, fuck. Yeah, I guess it is. I guess it doesn't matter that I don't have any savings or any like future prospects or whatever. What does it matter anyways? Like, that's of course you're going to think that. So that's and you're not going to have time to think like, wait, why do I think this? or why is this in my news right now? What what are they trying to frame something in my head? Like, you don't have any time to think about any of that. We do, obviously, because we're talking on a podcast, but yeah, I guess in that sense it is worth talking about for people who maybe don't have the time to think about it. But yeah, I don't think the fucking world's gonna end in fucking 10 or 20
Well, it
years.
also, I've been thinking about this lately, right? Because I've been getting obviously like more into Christianity, and one of the things that I've been struggling with Christianity and Western thought is like linear time. Like, we're waiting, and I think I'm just being intellectually honest here by just being like, there's parts of this that just still I'm having a fucking hard time with, right? And the whole idea that we're building towards like the end of the story, right? Like, Christ is going to come back. We're going to fucking bookend this shit. I don't really click with that much, and I'm like, I'm grappling with it, right? And I think that's part of the process, right? This is such a funny example, climate change. It's such a funny example of the shit we talk about how like a lot of shit within leftism is so obviously informed by Christian thought because it's like baked into Western civilization. And like the way people talk about the consequences of climate change is very structured this way, as opposed to like, yeah, climate change could be like Ragnarok, and like it's the end of an era, and then kind of we will enter into a new paradigm. I mean, fucking Kali Yuga, dude. We're going back to the fucking schizo post. Let's go. I like it. What people are talking about, this like end of the world, it's like it's the end of a kind of world, even in the worst case scenario, right? But like the idea that it's like extinction, I mean, I don't even know that that's really even a coherent point to make. If someone like puts your feet to the fire and makes you really expand on that, if you're trying to make the argument that it's like the absolute end, extinction of mankind and all of that, it's like, no, it's like it's the end of like getting shit shipped to my house in an afternoon and like having access to cheap energy. And I definitely saying that, I want to be careful. I don't want to act like it's not just going to be the end of like an indulgent era. Like, it's gonna fucking hurt in a worst case scenario in many ways. I'm talking about it in a really singular way. Again, it's easy to fall into that. But yeah, I mean, you guys just get what I'm saying. Like, it's fucking, it's eschaton, dude. It's the fucking end of the fucking world. It's the apocalypse. It's not. And framing it that way is so interesting. And I feel like it's a way of telling on yourself a little bit, when people do that. It's funny.
Yeah. It's the Book of Revelations. It's it's the highest stakes possible.
Yeah, exactly.
And, I mean,
and all the people that recycled are going to get raptured right before the sea levels rise enough to drown us all. I don't know. Like, what does it even fucking look like? What does all of us dying and the world ending even look like to these fucking people?
Yeah. And I mean, they point out the Kylie Jenner, the Kylie Kardashian, or the Obama buying beachfront property. They point all that stuff out, like she's taking 15-minute jet flights or whatever, as like hypocrisy, or like, oh, we have to eat these fucking paper straws that are dissolving in my mouth, but you can fucking do that shit. Right. While you pretend to care about climate change or whatever. I don't think they're fucking hypocrites. I don't think that. I don't think the elites are incompetent. I don't buy that argument that a lot of people say from the right or whatever. I don't think that. I think they fucking know that it's a psyop. Of course they know. And I think because they know, that's why they operate of like, this shit is not that big of, it's not going to affect me. Yeah. In any way.
I will say though, taking a fucking like 15-minute long plane flight is bad. Like, you shouldn't do that.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like that is bad emissions wise, and like even then, like, that's just like that. Probably the biggest issue is just like the allocation of resources there, and its use. Like, that's bad.
The way that it just completely unroots us from the natural world around us. Like, I think that we move and we live at a pace that's like way too fast and way too out of touch with our physical surroundings, and like with the life around us. Like, I think that even like the way that you have to drive to get to a grocery store in most cases, if you're not living like in the densely populated city, or you have to, all these things, you're not actually engaging with the content of the physical world around you when you're just driving on a concrete slab, looking at a concrete wall next to you and a car in front of you. In the same blue sky that's basically unchanging the whole time. You're not getting to actually engage with the peoples and the fauna and the flora that are around you. And I think that's a very important part of life and a very important part of stewardship and where it begins. And I think that moving to a place where it's like, oh, well, we can just like zap ourselves to this other place real quick. I just don't think that's a healthy way of engaging with the physical world.
Bro, I was thinking about this recently because girlfriend and I went east of the mountains recently. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because she's heard me fucking give this whole shtick like a billion times. And it's like, dude, all right, you could drive. All right, we're driving east of the mountains. We're going to go over we're going over the fucking Cascades, this huge fucking mountain pass, right? You could drive an equivalent distance on flat lands and like, it would not take the same energy out of you. Oh, right? Yeah. Like it's like, and you could obviously also just say like, it's a little bit stressful. You know, you can see how high up you are. You're making a lot of twists and turns going around these corners and stuff like that. But also just like, I like really insist, like there is something awesome about, in the true sense of the word, about fucking driving over a fucking mountain, dude. Yeah. And like that weighs on you. It's like, it's powerful. You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, we only had a drive it was like less than 3 hours. And we were exhausted after because it's just a lot, man. Like fucking, this is the kind of shit where like 100 years ago, people would have fucking, well, maybe a little over 100 years ago, like this is something that would claim people's lives easily. You know what I mean? It's like the biggest journey someone would take in their life. Yeah, I think that space in this way has something innate to it that I don't think is actually genuinely warped by like technology seemingly making it shorter and shorter in distance.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think that speaks to the power of it and like also why there's a reverence that needs to be paid to it. And why it deserves like actually soaking in and taking because of the fact that like, even if you try to skirt it, you try to cut the corners, you try to beat, matter in the way that nature is designed, you are ultimately not really going to be able to because the effects remain the same.
Yeah.
It's just that like these types of modes of like fast consumption, of fast travel, fast communication, etc., I think just kind of take away a lot of the spirit of life. And also like the rootedness of it. As we drive by the same patch of grass every single day, or, a little prairie land or a little creek bed that we're just driving over on our car, heading from one parking lot to another parking lot, just driving across on some asphalt. You're not really taking in the natural fauna that's there. You're not going to be, if you're taking a footpath, perhaps, if you're living in a place that's a little bit smaller, you might run into your neighbors. You might run into other locals in the area. You might have a discussion with them. You might even discuss the local fauna or flora with them that you're passing. And it's going to root you more to place. And when you're more rooted to place, you're going to be more interested in actually taking care of that place and actually partaking in the activities of that place and looking out for the people in that place as well. And we just don't have a good sense of that anymore. And I don't think it's solely because of planes, right, or whatever. But I do think that's kind of just one leg of it. And also, I just don't think it's healthy riding in planes.
Wait.
Are you radiation pilled?
Yeah, I mean, dude, you're getting like, 17 to 20 chest x-rays or some shit every time you fly in a plane.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's not very healthy. You're doing that for 17 minutes. What the fuck are you doing? Why are you
radiation?
doing that? Yeah,
there's radiation. You get hella radiation that high up.
Really?
Yeah,
from the atmosphere?
Yeah, it's kind of just one of these things we don't talk about anymore. Kind of like how people used to talk about that with regards to like phones and shit.
Yes, dude.
And now people just don't do that anymore at all. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there was any resolution. Like maybe there
microwaves or anything like that. Like all of this shit that we put out there, what they do is they do the same shit that like the the safe water agencies do or whatever, where they find like they establish some quote unquote technically safe minimum part per million or whatever of X thing, or technically safe level of exposure. And they'll be like,
Like they
oh,
did
well,
with gasoline.
yeah, with any, or lead or fucking whatever. They'll be like, all right, well, this is actually this is below, so don't even worry about it. But it's like, with stuff like radiation and with stuff like just various types of like waves and things that are electromagnetic that we don't really see, the types of consequences that they can cause, like change in the things that they can cause, are things that we can't really see well immediately either. And so like having, a shorter span of time to say, well, this is the dangerous level of it or whatever, you're not going to actually be able to see what's truly dangerous and what's not. And so the repercussions are going to start coming up later and later. And now we're finding cancer cells and clusters around certain types of phone towers, etc. And so, I mean, yeah, dude, I don't think it's safe, probably. Just generally, I mean, you can fly in planes, you can do whatever you want to do. You're probably going to be fine. I don't think most of the shit that we're doing is very safe, but
I mean, honestly, I'll just say I just want to go see places, and so that's like worth it.
I mean, I fly in planes. Fuck it, dude. I'm just saying, it's probably not safe.
Yeah, but I think it is true. I actually know somebody who doesn't fly in planes for this reason.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of funny, but
I saw this take on Twitter. I don't know if I saw COH's take or I saw somebody else was like, people should. I think it was COH.
Yeah, I was saying people should not be flying planes.
Yeah. I was just like, holy shit. I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not as like based in Kaczynski pilled on that. I mean, I didn't know about the radiation thing. That's pretty wild. I mean, maybe has something to do with the exploding rates of cancer or whatever. But I'm not. Yeah. I mean, I'm not as like, I'm not very anti-tech. I mean, we don't talk about it much, but like, I'm not as anti-tech because like, I mean, there's just trade-offs. You know what I mean? And it's just like,
sure.
There's like what you were saying of like, you fly. I flew across the world or whatever to the other side of the planet. And like, I just missed all the ocean and all the fucking terrain that was below me. I just missed that shit. It might have shown up on the screen on my in front of me, but I'm completely detached from that. And before I used to have to fucking see all that shit. And who knows what that does psychologically of like remembering your place in the universe. However you want to frame that, spiritually or not spiritually. Like
totally.
I think that's kind of what you guys are talking about. And like, but look, I mean, the thing is, I mean, aside from the fact that we can't reverse this whole transition technologically, globally, or whatever, I mean, it is a trade-off. But yeah, we could go Luddite pilled or whatever. I mean, like, there's like, I think of things as like a trade-off. You know what I mean? Like, there's the downsides and the consequences we have to deal with. But I don't think it's like for no positive benefit. I mean,
yeah, no, of course not. I mean, I think it's obviously like it's a balancing act, of course, right? It's like I don't think that the world feasibly could go back to a like you said, Luddite pilled or whatever, or that it should. Like, I don't think that we should throw away useful advances in technology, but I think that we should check them, right, where they need to be checked.
Right. We should be aware of. It's happening at a rate that's so fast that other generations used to have time to adjust to, and we have no time to adjust to. And we should be very aware as much as we can. I mean, we can't obviously because there's limits to what we can understand about ourselves, but like whatever we can, we should be vigilant about how this is affecting us like mentally and everything, because there's obviously some crazy changes going on that we can't even put words to. And
vigilant about why technologies are being created. Like, what is the purpose of certain technologies? What's driving them being in our lives? And is that a net good for the way that we're living for humanity? Is that a net good for our community and our society? And if not, then what is it a net good for one individual? That's probably something that should be checked. Stuff like that. Like, there's ways to view this in a way that's not completely all one thing or another.
Yeah, like wants and needs. Like, is it again with the consumers thing? Like, is it tech being developed to give you like an extra, Funko Pop AR augmented reality doll in your room or whatever? Like, is it that demand that's being met that's driving the innovation? Or is it something that, like, I don't know, actually helps people or like helps people with illnesses or disabilities or, makes food more accessible? Like, we'd probably all be dead if it weren't for like a lot of technological advances, obviously. That goes without saying. But, what's driving the demand for certain innovations? I think that's definitely something that people should be wary about for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we're on the back heel. We're constantly on the fucking back heel. I mean, dude, who knows what the fuck all this internet shit has done to us, like collectively?
Oh, terrible.
Who
terrible.
the fuck knows, bro? It's yeah. I mean, they'll probably study it and find out. But I mean, we're
Dude, you
we're
can
the
see
experiment.
the degeneration happening just with like
Oh my
fucking
God.
looking at generations, bro. Like looking at Gen X people compared to even like people before Gen X, and even looking at millennials. Dude, just looking at people just based on how much time they spend online or what types of apps they're using. I mean,
Also-
fuck, bro. You can see it happening in real time. You don't need to do
Oh, yeah.
studies.
Dude, you know
Oh,
what?
yeah.
One of the funniest things about all of this is that a huge, okay, obviously there's exceptions. There's like people out there just like actually still just like living good, normal lifestyles in spite of everything. Never discount that. But I'm just going to talk in generalizations. Everyone else, everybody is just completely addicted to their fucking screens and lives these fucking shut-in lives. And the funny thing is like none of us are honest with, nobody's honest about it. You know what I mean? I mean, I guess there are people that I guess kind of do the same thing as like just celebrating their mental illness and shit like that. But like, especially the last couple of years, like it's a fucking like society of screen addicted shut-ins. And like that's insane.
All right, that was part 1 of our episode. If you'd like to listen to part 2, you can find that at patreon.com/fedpost. Thanks for listening.